The 684th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing the college football and NFL seasons with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Howdy ho, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 684 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to Ilya Topuria as he continues to ascend to legendary status. Thank you for coming to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Handsome Jeff Fox, back to beat off some more haters. Today, it's all about Cage Warriors. Probably little UFC. We can't let last night's event go without discussion. There was some very interesting results and performances last night at UFC 308. So we'll probably touch on that a bit. After bringing in my co-host, and then after we do that, we shall jump into the Cage Warriors for this coming weekend. Let's bring in the man who went 8-5, just like I did last night at the UFC, but he lost less than I did. Lost less money, that is. That would be Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello.
Yeah, I took a swing on a couple extra dogs. It was a chalky night, which is kind of a disappointment. I think favorites went, was it like 11-2 or something like that were the favorites. So unfortunately, dogs not barking. Unfortunately, legends of the sport not pulling off upsets. Maybe it's good though. Maybe it's good that we're seeing like sort of new blood rise to the top, right? Even though Khamzat's not like new, we're getting to see a bunch of matches we probably haven't already seen, right? Like Robert Whittaker versus DDP, we've already seen. Khamzat versus all those guys at the top, we haven't. So, like, maybe that's exciting. Topuria, I mean, like, if he can knock out Max Holloway, is going to bring a lot of questions for people. So, yeah, interesting results. We did both hit our locks in one of the greatest gifts in MMA history.
We're not
we don't call them robberies here. Yeah, we don't call them robberies here as long as we're on the right side. They're called gifts. Overall, kind of fun fight card to watch. The Rembecki versus Orlby fight was super exciting. So, yeah, good time was had by all. We didn't do all that bad, and looking forward to heading to Edmonton up into not in your neck of the woods, but in Canada, which I just assume everything is your neck of the woods in Canada.
No.
It's just one small country up there.
You're much closer to me than Edmonton is. Edmonton is quite far away.
And Ayman Zahabi made sure to point that out to me when I talked to him last week. This isn't close for me. A Boston fight card is much better. I'm excited about that fight card. That one's going to be a lot of fun.
So I'm going through the results. Is the only dog that came through, the only real dog that came through is the Beastie Rabistie.
I mean,
even.
Yeah, I think he posted it as a bigger dog, but ended plus 105.
Okay.
At close. So like technically two dogs, but 11-2. So if you're out searching for underdogs that might hit, and I thought I had a couple there, you were let down because that was a chalky card.
You were barking up the wrong tree, is what you meant to say.
Hey, let's see what he did there, guys.
Yeah. As he said, the MMA gods giveth and taketh away. MMA judge gods giveth and taketh away. We actually were given a gift last night for a change, so that's fine. Fuck Radina, we've been screwed enough in the past, so and we'll be screwed enough in the future as well. So and then I think we saw our first double back fist knockout as well last night, right?
What? Shara's not good, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're just haters. Are we just haters?
There was a lot of disagreement in the Discord about whether or not Shara is good or not. I contend any wrestler in that top 15 or anybody with a shred of wrestling in that top 15 is going to torch him. Like, and I think, to be fair, I think he was having all he could do with the striking of Armen Petrosyan, and like Petrosyan isn't even like a top 5 striker in that division. So like, I think his striking is explosive and in like dangerous at any given time, but I don't think he's necessarily like good. You know what I mean? Like you put him in there when, like, I think he'd lose to Abus or Magomedov. Like let's put that out there. Like Abus looked pretty good in that fight with Bruno Fajeda, did a good job of staying away from like big, crazy bombs, which I said he would. Picked up a sub for me at like plus 600. I think he would go in and beat Sharapova. So that's kind of the level I think he's at. Is he terrible? No, obviously he's not terrible. He's got knockout power and could put anybody away. But at the same time, I'm like not ready to crown him a top 15 guy yet.
No, they're building him up properly, which I guess we can't really complain about because a lot of times.
Well, that's because he only gets to fight every single time they're in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, he's another one. Interesting. Some of these guys for some reason don't show up in the States. Weird, eh?
Weird. Very weird.
All right, and we saw a jaw-snapping submission. Yeah, maybe Kamzat is good. Well, he's good for 5 minutes at least, so we know that. So I guess we didn't learn a heck of a lot. We learned that his grappling's on another level than Robert.
There's also not anybody who seems like in that division they have the right style to beat it. You know, like I think his style sucks. If he was at 170 still, I think he'd get beat by a bunch of 170ers. You know what I mean? Like Sean Brady could give him trouble by like counter wrestling him and then outstriking him. I mean, Bilal Muhammad, I think is a nightmare for that dude. Like I think Bilal Muhammad would be real bad news for him. You know, like Shavkat would be bad news for. Like I think he's got a bunch of terrible matchups at 170, and I think at 85 he's got a lot of wide open spaces there. If you watch what he just did to Robert Whittaker.
He should be fighting for the belt next. I don't know why they're insisting on Sean Strickland, and
I don't think they're gonna be. Did you hear the post-fight press conference?
Where no, I didn't hear about that. No.
Data said we'll see where we're at Tuesday.
They're like, can we get another Middle East fight card booked quickly? Is basically what
basically can we find a card he can get a visa for?
Exactly. And just like Alex Volkanovski should not be next for Ilia Topuria as well. Like I don't want to see that fight either. So whatever. Right. I don't know who should be next. Got to be
Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez.
Yeah. Strike while the iron's hot for sure. Yeah. Do it. Yep. Do it. All right. We're going to talk maybe about some future UFC prospects on this year card to see if Cage Warriors 179 we'll get more on that in a second. Just reminding you, the World Series has kicked off, and boy, the first two games have been amazing. Just make sure you're always checking out the MLB Gambling Podcast, so you have the winning picks for each game as it goes on. And of course, thank you as always for tuning into our show. If you haven't already, if you can head over to Spotify and give us a 5-star rating, that would help us, and it would also help you and us from preventing corporate gambling from taking over. I messed that up, but you get my drift. Just give us a 5-star rating, okay? And then I'll stop talking about it. We're going to Rome, ladies and gentlemen. One in Rome. Cage Warriors 179. Paternò versus Bueno. The Joe Paternò jokes, I guess I've already done, right? So I can just leave those.
I think 7 or 8 times, and I don't think they strike particularly
same
well
guy.
With Italian crowds. No.
Same guy too. I did it about too. It's just the same guy.
It's just it's always Stefano Paternò.
Okay, yeah. Rome, Italy, November the 2nd, which is Saturday for Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors I guess they're pretty frequently on Saturdays. Saturday morning though, 11 a.m. Eastern, so won't get in the way of the UFC for you. Pellicone in Rome, Italy, 19 bouts. We're breaking down all 19 in full, so get ready. So we're gonna start off with 2-2 versus 2-1, right? We're gonna do every fight, just rapid fire.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the fight card. A lot of Italian fighters on this card. Anyone you're excited about, Italian or non-Italian?
I'm gonna be honest. No. It's not like any of them aren't. It's not like there's not good ones in there, but it really feels like this fight card was like, what person outside of Italy can we bring in to lose to our Italian? That in general just makes it feel like we're not seeing the top tier. Like Stefano Paternò, who you mentioned, is kind of exciting. But again, it seems sort of like in an 175-pound catch weight that maybe they were just looking for somebody he could beat. Nobody's super exciting.
Great. So no future UFC fighters here, more than likely.
I mean, maybe, but like they're going to have to win a couple more and not necessarily against the guys they're fighting on this card. Are
we going to win money though, Gumby?
Yes, always.
Okay. Let's dive into no odds yet posted for this. We're always ahead of the crowd. Not always, but normally ahead of the books. The books wait to hear how you handicap it, and then they make their lines accordingly. Starting with this one. This is a Featherweight bout, main card, featherweight bout. It is Simon from Ireland. He is up against Walter Cogliandro from Italy. Yes. Italy? No. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just say he's from the Middle East. Yeah, Italy. I don't know why it says he's ranked in the Middle East, but yes. 3 5-minute rounds.
He fought for UAE, I think. UAE Warriors.
Yep. Makes sense then. We'll tell you about him first. The Snatch. Cogliandro. It's 14-5-1, 6 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. This is his Cage Warriors debut. He's gone 3-1, over his last 4, but he did lose his last fight. 0-1 in Bellator, regional champion, used to fight at lightweight. King Simon. I get it. 4-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. 3-0 in Cage Warriors, 4 years younger than Cogliandro, an inch taller. I don't think they're setting the Italian up with a winnable fight here, are they?
So I think this is one of those ones where on the surface it looks maybe not winnable, which is why I think Cogliandro is going to come in here as an underdog. I'm thinking Simon like -200, Cogliandro plus 175. But I do think they actually set him up with a winnable fight. I'm going to take Cogliandro as an underdog here. I'm hoping he winds up being the underdog. I think the beautiful thing about this one for me is that, like, if you watch Simon, like, Simon has a good wrestling game. I just think he's never interested in actually using it. And if he was interested in using it in this fight with Cogliandro, I think he'd get him down, and I think he'd control him enough that he'd probably win a decision. But the problem is that, like, I think he thinks he's good enough striking from range. And, like, the only times I saw him get takedowns in some of his recent fights were either his opponent clashes into the clinch for him and winds up being in a bad position wrestling-wise, or he catches a kick. And the beauty about Cogliandro and the way that he fights is he doesn't actually throw that many kicks. If you watch, most of his striking is like almost 100% of boxing base. He puts together really nice combinations. I think he's way sharper than Simon here on the feet. It sort of reads to me like a fight where Simon is going to think he's good enough to strike for the vast majority of it. In like a round and a half in, he's going to be like, oh, damn, I probably have to wrestle here, and will have not done enough damage, or potentially will have taken too much damage, because Cogliandro works the body too, that like his takedowns are no longer good enough, and or he's just far enough behind on the cards where Cogliandro takes it. So yeah, I like Walter Cogliandro here. I think Simon's striking is a little bit too rudimentary, a little bit too predictable. Head doesn't move necessarily enough, and I think he's going to be slower. So yeah, give me Walter Cogliandro here.
You're hoping high plus 100 range, under plus 200, right?
Yeah, I think it might get close to 2, but I don't think it'll get all the way there, because, like, you know, Simon does have that undefeated record, but Cogliandro is fighting at home, and, you know, he's got a much longer record. So, like, clearly the experience is on his side.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on, Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all sports: NFL, college football, MLB, MMA. That is us. NBA, NASCAR, and more. Boost Over is upon us, which means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boost and much more. And with NBA tipping off every NBA Pick'em entry from the 19th through the 27th, so through today, make sure you get in today, will be boosted. You can now use specials of boost on all flex entries. Do you have Al Horford play for us, Gumby? He hit 5 threes in the first half last night and then didn't hit any of the rest of the game.
Well, and if you go the game before, he had 0 points in 20 minutes, which is also perplexing. I say ride that pony until it's exhausted, falls over, and dies. Higher than on Al Horford's 3-point made.
All right, let's do it. This is Al Horford podcast. So sign up with the code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to this is one of those, they have a lot of catch weight bouts here. This one is 140. Actually, it's featherweight. I don't know why it's not listed on Tapology. Yeah, this one's featherweight, not listed on Tapology, but it is featherweight. I checked on Cage Words. It's Luca Borando from Italy, Nicolae Mezdrea from Moldova. 3 5-minute rounds if they need it. Mezdrea is the crocodile, 2-3 with 2 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, submitted twice. He'll finish in every fight, and he finishes his opponents. He owes his rounds. Damn it. He's won 2 straight, both via TKO after losing his first 3. He has not fought since June 2023. He's not lost since December 19th, and he's regional champion. Borando is 4-1, 2 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been submitted once. 2-1 in Cage Warriors, 6 years younger than Mezdrea, an inch taller. Now, this is a setup fight, right? At least on paper.
I think this is a setup fight. I think you're going to see Borando pushing negative 300, like plus 250, 275 on the return for Mezdrea, and I'm going to take Borando. I think, first of all, it's weird that this one was listed higher on the card on Cage Warriors website than that Liana Liu fight, which I'll wind up talking about in my lightning round. But Luca Borando, he kind of overextends when he strikes. I think that's maybe his downfall in the long run, and maybe why we don't see him as a super prospect. But at the same time, like anytime he's in the clinch, he just does the right thing. He digs the underhooks the right way. He gets his hips away the right way. He circles off the cage so he can go back to throwing. And when he does land, he lands pretty solidly too. And it's partially because he throws so big and kind of overextends himself when he does. Mezdrea, I looked at his record and I was like, oh man, he went 0-3, but he really seems to have turned it around after taking like a 3-year break. I went back and watched. He fought some of the worst competition I've seen. Somehow they gave him a title fight in one of those organizations. A title fight in an organization against the guy who's 0-0, which is nice. I don't know how you justify that, but that's what they did. In Mezdrea, my biggest issue with him, everything is forced. His striking, he's trying to throw big strikes, even when the opening's not there. He tries to spin when it's not there. When he shoots for a takedown, he's not getting low enough on the hips, and then he just hangs on to the upper half of their body and tries to drag him to the ground. And it's worked against the really terrible competition he's had. But as I said, Borando is just a guy who does the right thing every time he's in a bad situation or he's in the clinch. I think he just gets away from those situations with Mezdrea, lights him up on the feet, and wins this one pretty easily.
Excellent. So all of Mezdrea's opponents just caught shrapnel there from Gumby.
They deserve it, to be fair.
Borando was born in 2000. It's crazy. Adults were born in 2000, but yes, he's not even super young, 24. And yeah, he was born in 2000. Gumby. How does that work? How does the math work there? I don't get it.
I think it's 2024. I think that's the big piece of this. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. All right, so Borando, probably a big favorite there. We are moving on to Topology's got their it all over the place, like you said. It's not the same as Cage Warrior. So, and I'm a Topology capper. For somehow, we're skipping a lot of good names here. Michelangelo Lupoli. Where's another great name I saw that
Giuseppe Mastroiacomo.
Yes, that's the one. Giuseppe Mastroiacomo. I think we've covered him before, perhaps. I remember
he was one of my I think he was one of my lightning round picks. Okay. And he may or may not be again today.
Oh, we got another Giuseppe right before him. Ruggeri, Michelangelo Lupoli, Gerasimos Ciotis. We got some good names. Antonio Mario. Yeah, anyhow. You catch my drift. It's an Italian heavy card, as we said off the top. All right, we're moving on to the Patrizi fight, right? Whenever I can find it on my damn Topology screen here. Here we are. Sorry. Lightweights, ladies and gentlemen. Simone Patrizi from Italy. Konstantinos Ntelis. He's not from Italy. He's from Greece. 3 5-minute rounds. At 155 pounds, everyone will like Ntelis' nickname, the Gambler. We love it. He's 8-3, 1 knockout, 5 submissions. Submitted 1 time. 0-1 in Cage Warriors. He's won 2 of his last 3. Did get submitted in his last fight. Regional champion, used to fight at 170 pounds. 2-0 in pro grappling. 7 years younger than Patrizi, an inch taller. The White Shark, Patrizi. We got another shark coming up on tomorrow's episode. This shark is 7-2, 4 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, submitted once, so finishing in both his losses. 2-1 Cage Warriors, 4-1 over his last 5, including his last fight, which was a win via TKO.
So I think Patrizi, big favorite, like negative 250. Konstantinos Ntelis, like plus 200, plus 215 on the return. I'm going to take a stab on another underdog here. Another person, well, this is the first non-Italian I've taken to win a fight. I think Ntelis. So Ntelis is coming off that loss, which is why I think he's going to be the big underdog. He fought Quayhagens, Jan Quayhagens, or Jan, I think it's Jan Quayhagens, who's like a big regional. I mean, he's just like all over Europe and is always in like big-ish fights. And in that fight, Ntelis' grappling was exceptionally fun to watch. He had like interesting trips and like fun back take ideas. And then just like everywhere he went, Quayhagens threw up a triangle or an armbar and like had him in danger until he finally finished him. And like Ntelis did a really good job of staying out of a lot of that trouble and was like in advantageous positions for a large portion of the fight. But like it's tough when you're up against a guy like that. And for me, the reason I like him against Patrizi is if you watch Patrizi, he doesn't have really good distance management on the feet. Like, I think his striking is better than Ntelis, and if he was able to use that striking all the time, he'd just bulldoze him. Like, if he could just get into range and, like, let the hands go, he wouldn't have to worry about the wrestling. But the problem is like, sometimes he's throwing his shots from so far away, and sometimes he comes so far in that, like, his strikes are less effective in there. And I think he's going to do that a couple of times and open up the takedowns for Ntelis. I also think Patrizi in general, when I've seen him in the clinch, it looks like he's not terribly comfortable there. He doesn't like being there. So if Ntelis fails on a takedown, as long as he pushes him up against the cage, he's going to be all right. And I think Patrizi is just going to wear down with that style of fight for too long. So give me Ntelis, hoping we get him like 2-1 underdog money here. It will be interesting to see how the books treat the Italian fighters, but I'm hoping that helps with the favorite status of Patrizi here.
So Patrizi Pitbull, not your pick, is what you're saying. That should be his nickname. Patrizi Pitbull instead of Shark. All right. We are on to the co-main event already. Alessandro Giordano from, you guessed it, Italy. Rafael Hudson. You guessed it by the pronunciation, Brazil. 3 5-minute rounds at 141 pounds. That's the weight class we need, Gumby.
This is we're cutting you some slack because we flew you in from Brazil to lose. Is my read, and you might see that again in a second.
All right, we'll tell you about that person who Gumby thinks is going to leave. Rafael Hudson, Apocalypse. I don't know what that translates to, but we'll move on. It could be an apocalypse for him if Gumby has his say here. He's 8-7, this man. 3 knockouts, 5 submissions, so that's impressive. He's finished everyone. He's been knocked out 2 times, submitted 4 times, not as impressive. Cage Warriors debut, he's lost 2 straight and only won 1 of his last 4. Both of his past 2 losses have come via finish. He's regional champion, used to fight at pretty much everywhere, every weight class. Bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight. He's missed weight before at featherweight. 1-1 in cage boxing, 1-0 in regular boxing.
Cage
1 inch.
box.
Okay, that's what Tapology has listed as. So I guess boxing in a cage is my guess, as opposed to car boxing, phone booth boxing. We've seen phone booth fights. He's got an inch height over Giordano. Giordano is 8-3, 5 knockouts, 1 submission. Never been finished in a fight. He also has to be finished or something. 2-2 in Cage Warriors. He's won 2 straight before that. He lost 2 straight. Both of his past 2 wins via finish. Used to fight at bantamweight and featherweight. And he's 7 years younger than Hudson.
Yeah, he should be a negative 500 favorite, and it might go higher after he posts because people will just squeeze him in parlays until he's unbettable. But Giordano's got like a good set of combinations that he uses on the feet regularly. I've had issues with him doing too much backing up. And I think ultimately that's maybe his ceiling in terms of being a prospect is like he needs to stop backing up so much. But like the bigger piece here is that like Hudson is just so bad on defense. And I mean that from a wrestling standpoint. And my head just stays here right here in the middle for you to punch version of it. Because like, you know, with those 2 things being true, like the last thing you want to fight is somebody with good cardio and good combinations, right? Because those types of people are just going to hit you and not stop hitting you. And that's literally what Giordano does. Like I said, I think the pressure has always been a problem for Giordano, but I think with Hudson being a guy who, you know, he's going to be able to back off or make feel his power. It's going to be quick. So yeah, I like Alessandro Giordano, even if he posts in the absurdly high, like 500s or 600s.
How high can it get before you're like, okay, that's enough?
I mean, I think I say this regularly on here, but like it depends on your appetite for risk.
Yeah.
If you're throwing him in a parlay and it's changing at 31 cents, like is anybody worth throwing in a parlay when it changes at 31 cents?
Yeah.
Probably not. But like, I think he's a safe pick here. I don't think he's going to have any trouble with Hudson.
All right, there you go. From the Gumby's mouth. All right, before we get to our main event and our lightning round picks, plenty to choose from for that. I would like to tell you about BetUS. We are brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business, BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. US players are always welcome. BetUS is live with Trick or Treat on Horror Street. For now until Halloween, BetUS will be offering daily promotions and a raffle entry to win a sports or casino prize pack that they will give away on October 31st, the Hallowed Eve. You can now enter multiple times and Every $200 deposit gets you 1 entry. So check out, they got plenty of MMA for you to make your bets on there. And make sure you go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus, and use our promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. And SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or press Build a Model for me. Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Check out all the Al Horford props there. You want to take the higher or over, or whoever they're listed. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Okay, back to the Al Horford podcast. A main event: Stefano Paternò from Italy versus Jorge Bueno from Brazil. 3 5-minute rounds at 175 pounds. Naturally, Bueno, Jorginho, so Little George, is 10-5. Or Little Jorge, a 10-5 with 1 knockout. Let's try that again, ladies and gentlemen. 10-5 with 1 no contest, 7 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times, 0-1 in cage warriors. He's lost 2 straight. Before that, he won 2 straight. Before that, he lost 2 straight. Both of his past 2 losses via TKO. Regional champion, used to fight at welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight. And now he's at 175 pounds. Paternò, 18-4-1. 10 knockouts, 5 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 3-1 in cage warriors. The former champion was won 5 straight, 4 straight via finish. He's not lost since September 2020. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. 1-1 in Bellator. 2012 pro MMA debut. 6 years younger than Bueno, 2 inches taller, and he's at +1. Actually, no, that's all. He usually fights at 170. That's why the 170 is listed there. Okay.
Yeah. If you watch Paterno's last fight, well, so first of all, I think he's going to be a favorite. Again, it's an Italian being set up with an out-of-towners fight at a weird weight class. I think he's going to be like -300. It's less obvious than the Hudson fight. But if you watch Paterno's last fight, he repeatedly gets taken down in the wrestling, never settles in position, keeps getting back up, lets go with his hands as much as he can when he's up, has good enough cardio that he outlasts the dude who gets super tired and then eventually puts him away. And if you watch Bueno's fights, he looks like a dude who's cherry-picked to lose that exact kind of fight. He himself has shown pretty decent wrestling in his time. If you go back, he fought Will Curry way back when, and he hit a bunch of takedowns in that fight. And again, looked really good, and then just tired out, got reversed, gave up bad positions, all those types of things. It feels like that's what goes down here too, is that Bueno hits a couple of takedowns early, starting to feel really good, gasses out heavily, and Paternò hits him with a knockout blow because his cardio is good and he keeps getting back up. So I'm going to go with Stefano Paternò. I don't necessarily think, it's not good that he's fighting a guy whose record looks like this. And I have to caveat it and say he's going to have a bad start to the fight, but he does look like this is, from the second round on, it should be his fight.
All right. So you got to sweat through at least a round. People seem to like to have sweats with their bets anyhow. So, and probably a big favorite. Gumby said -300 or so. All right. Let's recap Gumby's picks and then we'll get you his lightning round picks. He's got 14 other fights to choose from. I'm sure they're all high quality fights too. We got Paternò, or he's got Paternò. We'll say we got Paternò. We got Giordano. We got Ntelis. We got Borando. We got Cogliandro. All right, Gumby, lightning round, crash, bam, boom, zap, pow. Any fun names for this one?
I actually got 4 here. I usually only do 2, but it was a deep card and lots of fights that I saw where I was like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. Giuseppe Master Giacomo. This guy, very fun prospect, super young, 5-0, 145 pounder, absolute beast, pretty much wherever the fight goes like him. Manuel Del Valle is a 3-0 prospect, but he was also an IMMAF guy. He didn't win in IMMAF, but he did fight a bunch down there, so he's got way more high-level experience than you think. He's only 3-0, so maybe we see that line come in somewhat close. Master Giacomo should be a huge favorite. Kadim Dia, he is fighting Liana Liu, who's a guy who I mentioned earlier. I don't know why this fight isn't on the main card, or at least wasn't listed higher on the Cage Warriors website. But Kadeem Dia is actually a very exciting prospect in my eyes. And Leon Aliu is a guy who he's got big knockout power, but I don't know what else he's going to do with that. So I like Kadeem Dia to have a little upset here. And being that Aliu was on Contender Series in that Dia is 5-0. So maybe that line comes in close, but I like Dia. And as far as trying to find an underdog on this card, because I know sometimes when I do lightning rounds, you want an underdog. Robin Bruce, I know I picked him last time and he let us down, but he's 7-5 in his pro career. It's not a good look. But he really fought for our money last time and tried to make it work. He's fighting another guy who's 6-0. I mean, he's probably going to come in with an absolutely massive number, and it might just sweat your way through like a close split decision. So Robin Bruce, Giuseppe Mastro Giacomo, Manuel Del Valle, and Kadeem Dia.
All we ask is that people fight for our money if they're big dogs. So that is good enough. When
that they don't go down with a weird leg injury right away.
Yes, exactly. If you want actual input when the or feedback from us when the odds actually drop, you can hit us up in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, or in the comments on YouTube. MMA Gambling Podcast is the place to subscribe and comment. Obviously, Twitter we are at SGPN MMA. Gumby mans that for us. He's Gumby Vreeland. I'm Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. Check out my Substack. I got another UFC Pick'em contest running this week. Again, get in it, even though our friend Burr from the Discord has won the past 2 weeks. So I think he's taken over the Pick'em contest. No one else may be allowed to win going forward, but you can always try at moneymma.substack.com. Gumby's got a podcast called the Top Turtle MMA Podcast. Somehow it almost slipped through my feed this week and I didn't see it, but I found it and listened to it in time. Do you know who's on it this week yet?
Yeah, we're going to be talking to Kyle Machado, who 0-2 in the UFC, but is moving down to light heavyweight. So he's talking about his move to light heavyweight, which is kind of fun. And then we're also talking to Mansour Abdul Malik right before his UFC debut.
Definitely looked like he could cut to light heavyweight. He wasn't exactly a.
He looks he looks. You love when I talk about dudes' bodies, but like he looks amazing.
Oh, that's what we like to hear. Maybe it's a cow thing. Cow, you love cow people with their bodies. No, actually, no. Sorry, it's Brian Battle's body you talk about. Never mind. Never mind.
Body. Brian Battle's body.
Brian Battle's body. There's a good title right there. All right, and of course, we're at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon, so you can get some extra bonus content. More content from us. You got it. The rest of the week, we've got you covered. Starting obviously with tomorrow, Fury FC. We're going to be hitting up tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. The Snatch, Jeff Fox, Georgino, Vreeland. We'll talk to you then.